All right. It is December 6th, 2024, and Bitcoin has hit $100,000. I think it was yesterday or December 4th, very late at night. So, first of all, congratulations to everybody who's been holding through this volatile time. And we have now seen Bitcoin, I think, hit around 104,000. So, definitely super exciting to see. Very monumental that we've crossed the six-figure milestone. And you could see here an article from CNN Business. Bitcoin surges above 100,000 for the first time as Trump picks pro crypto SEC chair. Bitcoin hit 100,000 for the first time late Wednesday, surging to a new record after President-elect Donald Trump unveiled administration picks seen as holding the keys to ushering in crypto-friendly policies when he takes office in January. This is very different than what we've seen with the previous administration with Joe Biden, Elizabeth Warren, and their so-called anti-crypto army trying to just basically undermine cryptocurrency holders, particularly Bitcoin, at every turn. Um, Definitely has something to do with this, I would think. Trump being pretty pro crypto and pro Bitcoin. He actually congratulated Bitcoin holders on the 100K milestone. I wouldn't give him all the credit though. We see this every 4 years unless something changes with the halving cycle. We saw earlier this year around 420, the Bitcoin halving, reducing the block reward, I think from 6.25 to 3.125 Bitcoin every 25 minutes. That's largely what has contributed to this. First saw an increase in demand reacting to a decrease in incoming supply of 50%. So did Trump have something to do with this? Probably. I wouldn't give him all the credit again. No, the McRib did not predict Bitcoin surge to 100K. um, so let's talk a little bit more about Bitcoin right now. So we did get a bit of a pullback. I think we went up to about $104,000 and dumped all the way down yesterday to 93. So we talk about the God candle. Well, it looks like we went from around 104, I think on Robinhood or Coinbase, I saw a wick to 104K yesterday at 3 p.m. And then towards the end of the night, yeah, I'm not seeing it this low on Google, but I think we went down to around 94K, so around a 10K drop. And we've since been climbing up, hovering between 97, 98,000 now. This makes sense. I think a lot of people want to sell at 100K. I think there were a lot of sell orders, but also with 100K and six figures being such a big milestone, it is likely that people see anything under 100K now as a bargain, including me, because this is five-figure Bitcoin. Something about seeing that six-figure number for the first time on the price was it was it was pretty wild to see. It's like Bitcoin just growing up, hitting $100,000. It's surreal. It really is. And now people see 97,000 and it doesn't seem as expensive as it was before because it used to be 104,000 and now you can get it for under 100K. The market knows that Bitcoin, at least in the past, meaning yesterday, was worth at least $100,000. We didn't even just hit 100K. We almost hit 105. Like we really just blasted right past it. So sitting pretty at around 98,000 now. Give us a quick refresh. Yep. Now let's look at coin market cap. Ignore all of the other coins. Obviously, you can see Bitcoin number one. Obviously, market cap 1.93 trillion. This capped over 2 trillion yesterday. Bitcoin dominance, I think, has been going up just a little bit the past, maybe day or so after dumping because of all these other, we'll call them ship coins going up in value. In relation to Bitcoin, let them have their fun, their little time in the sun. It's not going to last very long. Oh, look at that. Look at crypto.com with 100K Bitcoin in the corner. I like that. Let's see what happens when we click on that. Oh, okay, nothing. Interesting. All right. So, Bitcoin now the seventh most valuable asset at 1.938 trillion, past Saudi Aramco, blowing past silver, Meta, Tesla, of course, Taiwan Semiconductor, and Warren's Berkshire Hathaway. Don't tell him. We are knocking on the door of Google. That is next. It's like that Grim Reaper meme knocking down the doors. We have Meta, Silver, Saudi Aramco already destroyed, knocking on the door now of Google. And again, yesterday if we didn't pass this, we were very close. We probably went to 2.05, maybe 2. I think at 100K, it's 2.1, isn't it? Right, because 100,000 times 21 million is 2.1 trillion, I think. So definitely close here, and it's only a matter of time. There's not much Google can do. And on, say, example, the weekend when the market is closed, Bitcoin could just surpass Google, and the world could wake up on Monday while the stock market was asleep all weekend and see that Bitcoin has surpassed Google in value. And it's only a matter of time. At that point, Bitcoin will be the sixth most valuable asset, knocking on the door of Amazon. Honestly, Amazon, Google, not too far away, kind of a stone's throw. At that point, that would put Bitcoin in the top five, contending with just the $3 trillion companies, and of course, the final boss of assets, gold, with a $17.87 trillion market cap. Now, reminder, first of all, Bitcoin doesn't have to get to $18 trillion to surpass gold. Gold investors could start dumping their gold to buy Bitcoin. I think gold people understand the problem very well, and gold has worked as a solution for a long time. Bitcoin is just a new idea, a better idea, similar idea, but has perfected the qualities of gold that are, defective this century, such as portability and verifiability, things like that. And it's just wild. I remember when Bitcoin was, just so much further down this list. And it's wild. It seems like every few days this is changing. And at the rate it's growing, it's only a matter of time before we see Bitcoin as the number one asset in the world. It will be undeniable at that point. I think a lot of people will ignore Bitcoin. I see a lot of negative sentiment on it still. I'm almost making fun of the fact that it's $100,000, calling it a Ponzi, calling it a scam, calling it a joke, saying it's going to collapse and go to zero. But what happens in Bitcoin is the bigger than every company in the world. I mean, really, there's only 5 companies looking at this list that that are bigger than Bitcoin. Bitcoin's bigger than every single company in the world except Apple, Nvidia, Microsoft, Amazon, and Google. And Google's hanging by a thread. Amazon, pretty close too. Got a ways to go before those big $3 trillion bosses, but really, I don't think you know, I don't think people would have ever thought this is going to happen. And I think a lot of the non-believers, no coiners, bears, whatever you call it, they either don't see this list or they think that there's $2 trillion in stupid capital in the world. This is from river.com, Bitcoin ownership distribution as of December 2024. So we do see a rise in business and Wall Street accumulation of Bitcoin. Of course, MicroStrategy, I think, has 400,000 Bitcoin. BlackRock now has over 500,000. Funds and ETFs have 1.25 million Bitcoin. Businesses, 836 Bitcoin. What's interesting here is that individuals have 66% of all the Bitcoin. This can't be said really about anything else. We have gold accumulated mainly by central banks and sovereign countries. Of course, some people to an extent. Most of wealth is held by large, wealthy, either individuals, businesses, governments. But you could see Bitcoin starting from, sort of a grassroots movement. It's very, very nice to see that 2/3 of Bitcoin are controlled by individuals, and no matter how much money these businesses and ETFs have, they are probably never going to catch up to individuals because individuals caught the wave early. And if you bought Bitcoin before, January this year, you were front running institutions. And if you bought before August 2020, you were front running Michael Saylor. I front ran, I was able to front run the institutions. I started buying Bitcoin in January 2021. So Saylor obviously started buying like 5 months before. And of course, Bitcoin was 10,000 then. When I started buying, it was like 30,000 because it 3x in 6 months. Now, when I type Bitcoin into Google, of course, a lot of skepticism. Is Bitcoin going to crash? Is Bitcoin a good investment? Is Bitcoin halal? Is Bitcoin safe? Is Bitcoin mining profitable? Is Bitcoin cryptocurrency? Is Bitcoin legal? Is Bitcoin dead? Yes. Well, let's start here. Is Bitcoin going to crash? Yes, at some point. Will it crash to zero? I don't think so. Maybe. Is Bitcoin a good investment? Depends who you ask. I think it is. This is not investment advice, obviously. I can't speak on if Bitcoin's halal. I don't know if that's to do with interest or if it's ethical or not. Bitcoin is safe. Bitcoin can't be taken away from you if it's properly stored in a cold wallet. Is Bitcoin mining profitable? That depends on the mining reward and the cost of electricity. Is Bitcoin cryptocurrency? Yes. Yes, it is the first cryptocurrency. Is Bitcoin legal in India? I'm not sure, but it doesn't matter because Bitcoin doesn't care what the law says. You can send a transaction to anyone and receive value from anyone, and there's nothing anyone can do to stop it. No one can reverse it. No one can stop it. Is Bitcoin dead? No, Bitcoin is not dead. Bitcoin is stronger than ever. Bitcoin is worth $100,000 a coin. When Trump got elected, or during the 2016 election, Bitcoin was $700 a coin. Then when Trump got elected this year, during the election 2024, Bitcoin was $70,000 a coin. And now Bitcoin is $100,000 a coin. So Bitcoin is not dead. Bitcoin is more valuable than ever before, with more people holding Bitcoin than ever before. And we have nations talking about building a strategic reserve of Bitcoin, also states. We heard Putin the other day talking about Bitcoin, how it can't be banned and how transactions can't be stopped. So we'll just see the game theory play out longer and longer. But again, it's nice to see individuals being the primary people to benefit from something like Bitcoin because the last thing we need is for just a bunch of governments and rich people and businesses to get wealthier when these people already have all of the money. And if you're thinking 100K Bitcoin is too expensive, just remember that time in the market beats timing the market. This is a Bogle philosophy and rings true, especially with Bitcoin, according to Google AI overview. Time in the market versus time in the market. Time in the market refers to the strategy of staying invested for a long period, allowing your investments to grow over time, while timing the market means actively trying to buy and sell assets at the exact peak or drop of market fluctuations to maximize short-term profits, which is generally considered a risky and difficult approach, with most evidence suggesting time in the market is a better long-term strategy for most investors. Essentially, it's about staying invested rather than trying to predict market highs and lows. Guys, don't try to time the market. Please, please don't. You're not smart enough. I'm definitely not smart enough. Focus on long-term holding of investments. Benefit from compounding interest over time. Consider a more passive approach, less reliant on market predictions. I think Bitcoin's going to go up. So I'm buying at this price because I don't care. And I'm not going to pretend like I know it's going to crash to 90,000. Crash to 90,000. God, these people need to like listen to themselves and scoop up more. I just know that there's a limited amount of Bitcoin at the table. And if you imagine a big table with a bunch of coins on them, I'm not going to wait for the price to go down to scoop some up because there's only a limited amount. And this is the first time we've had a fixed supply. If you don't get Bitcoin, then you're never going to get it. If you get it, you have it forever. No one can take it away from you. No one can dilute it. So focus on time in the market. Does it matter if you bought the peak of Bitcoin in 2017? Not really. Maybe you'd make more money if you bought the dip, but you're up it doesn't matter. You're winning. You're outperforming everybody else, all these Wall Street people, everybody, even if you bought the worst time. So, versus timing the market, someone aims to buy low and sell high by predicting market movements, which is impossible. Can involve frequent trading, leading to higher transaction costs. That's true. There's also taxes, slippage, things like that. Requires significant market analysis and can be emotionally challenging. Most people don't have the emotional maturity to time the market. They also don't have the chops for market analysis. Artificial intelligence is saying time the market is generally preferred because it's difficult to predict market peaks and troughs. Missed opportunities again, transaction costs. So don't try to play this game with Bitcoin. There's a limited amount, and if you don't get it, you're never going to get it. Most people are not going to get one Bitcoin at this point, whereas maybe a year ago when it was $43,744.54, still out of reach for most people, but a little bit more manageable. Of course, if you started buying 5 years ago at $7,521.31, you know, you could have bought zero point 0.1 Bitcoin. You could have bought a tenth of a Bitcoin for $752. Now a tenth of a Bitcoin is going to cost you about $1,000. Sorry, $10,000. So, you know, just keep buying. Doesn't matter when you buy it, this number is just going to keep going up. The amount of money in the world is just going to increase. And speaking of all-time highs, looky here. We have the US debt making its own all-time high. The United States government, 36,198,593,200,300,000,400. Okay, you get the picture. This number is never going to go down. And the longer this goes on, which presumably, unless there's austerity, will continue forever unless something bad happens. And we can see that Bitcoin will just go up as a result. Bitcoin kind of just shines a light on this. And let's go to my Twitter for a second. This is from Simply Bitcoin. Let me take a look at something I retweeted. And this is what people need to get their heads around. People think Bitcoin, it seems like Bitcoin's just going up compared to the dollar. But what's really happening is Bitcoin's a stable thing. It's the most predictable thing with a fixed supply, no dilution, no inflation, no surprises. And by comparison, the dollar is just going down. And this is what people need to understand. This is a winning strategy. The winning strategy isn't to hold on to dollars that are going down. And you can see on the top, it looks like, there's a lot of volatility with the Bitcoin price. But if you look at the bottom, it just looks like a stable thing compared to the dollar, which is printed out of thin air and will be inflated to, near worthlessness. We could see gas at $10 a gallon. We could see Big Macs at $20 a Big Mac. We could see houses on average, median home prices in the United States reach $1 million. And we will eventually. I don't think it'll take 100 years. I don't think it'll take 50 years. I don't think it'll take 20 years. See you in the next 10 years or so. And what will Bitcoin price be then when, so say, go to this debt clock time machine. So we're at 36.2. Look at this. 4-year difference. Predicting $51 trillion. So I'll let you do the math on what kind of increase that is and tell yourself, tell me this is wrong now. This is what is really happening. This is what's going on. Don't let any of these clowns at the Federal Reserve or the government fool you into thinking they have it under control. Don't let any of them convince you that Bitcoin is volatile and going to zero. Just remember, this is what is really happening. And that is why we've seen Bitcoin reach over $100,000 a coin yesterday, and will just continue going up forever in relation to the dollar because that's what we're measuring this in. Interestingly, you can measure Bitcoin in the Turkish lira if you want. And it's 78x over the past 5 years due to hyperinflation. This is eventually going to happen with the dollar. This is going to happen with every currency at different rates. The US dollar is the strongest fiat currency, but that's not really saying much. Um, just remember, eventually the dollar will go to zero, and Bitcoin, as a result, will keep going up forever. I think what would make it easier to understand is if there was just one Bitcoin, and that one Bitcoin was worth $2 trillion or what have you. And the more dollars get printed, the more would go into Bitcoin, the higher the price would rise. Um, and people need to realize that their dollar is worthless and that's going to zero. And you don't have to be a great market timer. You don't have to pick the best assets. You don't have to pick the best stocks. You don't have to worry about real estate. You don't have to worry about tenants, taxes, anything like that. You can just hold your Bitcoin and see clown world unfold, and you can sit and eat popcorn on the sidelines while your wealth goes up forever in comparison to what is happening with the rest of the world, which is just their wealth being drained from them. If you guys like the content, please subscribe, give the video a like, and I'll speak with you guys soon. Have a great weekend. Thanks.